Hi there, I'm Robin Maria Pedrero, and today we're going to learn how to draw a leaf. The first part of drawing a leaf in charcoal is to take a walk and get some reference materials. And that's a lot of fun, to go through your neighborhood or to a local park and find some leaves. These are some that I gathered when Max and I took a walk the other day. Lots of different leaf samples. Today, I think I'm going to use this one. I like how it dried with all these little curls in it. Some of the supplies that you'll need today, of course, will be charcoal. We have some wonderful charcoal samples here. This is the large charcoal. It's vine charcoal. Some smaller pieces. For fine lines, compressed charcoal can also be wonderful, and I love working with charcoal pencils. And another tool that you'll need is an eraser. This is a kneaded eraser. This is an eraser that works really great on pastel and charcoal. And this one is in a stick form in a pen. We also have stumps and tortillons that you can use for blending, or you can use your fingers. The sandpaper here I use to sharpen the charcoal. You can buy a regular piece of sandpaper. You can use the sandpaper that you find in the art stores that already comes on a little board, or you can use a nail file. You will need paper. This here paper is just for mixed media. You could use anything that works with charcoal. You can even use your little handy sketchbook that you take with you. If you're working on an easel and not in a sketchbook, you need some tape, paper towels are good, and some fixative for when we're done. So we'll take our paper and pull off a couple of pieces of tape and put it on our drawing board. Top, and then I kind of smooth it down and pull down and tape it here. And I actually take my hand and move it across the paper to make sure there aren't any imperfections. And then I go ahead and I take my reference material, and I'm going to look at this leaf. And then without any charcoal in my hand, I'm going to pretend to draw it, kind of giving it the space and creating the space on the paper just with my fingers and seeing kind of where I'd like it to be. I'm going to start by taking a piece of the charcoal, and I like to break it. And I break a piece, and I'm going to just hold this leaf up here like this and start over on this side here. And you can start where you'd like. I just chose to start here. And I'm looking at the contours, the edges of this leaf, and coming down here and continuing to look at where those imaginary lines are that I was placing. And it's kind of triangular shaped, and everyone's leaf is going to be a little bit different. And continue to look at the contour lines and up here. And you can draw contour lines. That's one way, as you can see what we're doing here. You can also kind of block in where you see these shadows. This is the shadow that I'm referring to here. And this little leaf does a nice little curl here, comes down. Then we have this over here, come to another point, back up to this center point here. I'm going to go back over here and come down with this part of the leaf. And there's just another little piece here. And the stem on this one comes out from underneath here. I don't really love the way that is, so I'm going to take it and just move it over here. And you can do that. You can move things around in your leaf a little bit. So this is basically a contour drawing right now, and then we're going to take it a step further. You're going to look at the darks and the lights that are in the leaf. And where there's dark spots, you're going to fill in those areas with darks. We already started this one over here. I'm going to pull this in that area. There's a little bit of dark here. Can you see there's a little bit of dark over here as the light is making that shadow? But it's these darks and lights that are going to give the leaf the definition and make it look more realistic. So I'm just kind of playing with these lines here, and you just keep evaluating. You go back and forth, in and out with it, and take a look at which areas are dark and light. I'm going to go ahead now and kind of just fill this in, and it looks like a big mess, doesn't it? Another tool that I didn't mention before that you can try out is a makeup sponge. And these are just little wedges, and that's something that can be used for blending, and some people really enjoy the effects of that. I'm just going to show you some blending techniques on top of this charcoal that we have placed in our leaves. That's more charcoal there, and this is the stomp, and that's how that works for blending. And you can use all of these different methods. You could use the paper towel. You can use some of the smaller tortillions here for blending and moving things around. And they all can come up with similar effects as you're working on it. But now I'm going to show you my most favorite tool. We're going to put a little more of this in here. And this is my favorite tool, using my fingers. I am a pastelist, and I work with a lot of charcoals and pastel, and this is one of the ways that I lay in the medium. I'm going to tap on this board. Do you see little pieces of charcoal flaking here? You just tap on the board a little bit, and they start to fall down. And you can, go like this and remove some of the loose pieces that are in there. We've kind of filled in a solid value for this. There's a few darks, but pretty much so it's one solid value. So now we want to go in with some details. And this is a charcoal pencil. This is one of the tools that we can use, and you can use your fun little nail file to get a sharper point on it, or the typical sandpaper. And you're always going to look at it. That's one thing that's very important. You need to know the shape that you're building, if it's turning a little flat or if it's pointier on one end than another. And then you can test it on some scrap paper to see what it is that you've got. You're going to go back to your reference. We've got some great skeletal lines in here of the leaf, the veins, and where it is darker, I'm pressing harder. Where it is lighter, I'm lifting up on the charcoal pencil, and it gets a little lighter. I can see this area has a bit more of a shadow, so I'm going to make that a little darker and wider in there. And they all come down to this center area here, so I'm going to come back to this center, define that a little bit right there, and then go up to this little curl of a leaf over here, and make this little curve over here. And you go back and forth with your eyes and with your hand, kind of looking back and forth as your hand is moving, and follow those lines. Sometimes it's good to make a fast line, and sometimes it's good to kind of follow it a little bit slowly. And this one over here is a little lighter, so I'm going to go a little faster through there. And that's just the beginning of some of the lines. We've got this one more here to do. Okay, and now there's little teeny veins that come off of the leaf. And I'm kind of looking at them, but I'm not making them exactly like every vein. You can pick and choose a few. And the way that your leaf develops depends on how realistic it is, will depend on how many things that you choose to place in there that are exactly like it looks. We just want to get some sort of an idea. So now I have these lines going in, and I want to come back and redefine some of these edges. This leaf actually has little teeny ridges all the way up and around. This one has this nice little curl here, and I'm holding it with my hand, and sometimes that makes the shadows kind of move a little bit. Putting in some of these edges, see how that's defining and it's starting to pop? A few more up here. Oh, I like this little dark edge here and around here. This is kind of lit up a bit by our light, but I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in there and do some more definition here. I can see that this needs some more shadow as I'm building this leaf, and a little bit more in here. Can you see these little shadows here? And you can continue to work with it and blend it and build those little layers up. Oh, I see another little nice vein here that I want to put in. And some of these lines here. And go back in here and darken this as I was blending. I made it a little too blended and light, and it's actually quite a bit darker. See how that starts to make that leaf fold and bend? And go back in here with these edges again. This one kind of comes in. This has more over here. I really like the edge on this. Those sharp little edges to make it curl and curve around. And this side. And we can really get in there and do more details with it. Now I'm going to show you one of the next steps. You want to look at things that are identifiable in your different leaf. For instance, this one has a little age spot here, a little darkening spot, and right here. And these give it character. These show the individuality of this particular leaf. Now the next tool that we're going to take out is our eraser. And I do like to use this kneaded eraser because I can make it's pliable and move it around to make the different lines. I do see a spot that I want to blend a little with the stump though. And that's what you do. You're going around and you're kind of looking at the leaf and making decisions. And I want to clean up this area here. You can just take your eraser and clean up a little bit. And then come back in and pull out some of the lights. And we have our mid values and our darks in here. And we can pull out some of these light areas using the eraser. And just kind of pushing and moving it to make the shape that we need it to be. I'm making somewhat of a little point by squeezing it together. And I'm going to pull out these lines in here. I'm going to make a little line down here to make that a little softer. It has lots of rumples and bumps in it. And it's not all smooth like I see in this drawing, so I'm going to continue to pull out some of those lights that are in there. I'm going to use this other eraser too that I really like. That might be helpful for these areas. Yeah, I like the way that that's working there. Pull out some of these lights and see how it starts to change and get more shape as you continue to work with your darks and lights. Now I kind of erased too much of this line and I want it back there. I don't want to be missing that line. I liked it there. This area is a little lighter in here. So you you can see right now that we already have a leaf, and you can decide if you want to keep going and giving it continued more definition, which would be continuing this pattern of evaluating the darks and the lights, of evaluating the edges, and where you see that it needs, you know, a darker edge or a lighter edge, you go ahead and you make those marks by pressing very hard or lightly, or by using an eraser and pulling those areas out. And you'll be able to make a leaf too. Thank you for